AFR On Demand is brought to you by Breck Golf. Try Beaver Creek today, just 20 minutes from downtown Baton Rouge in the Zachary area. They've got a PGA Tour driving range, a short game practice area, 30 to 40-yard practice shots. It's a great place to chip and putt and practice if you don't have time for a full round. Book your tee time today, golf.breck.org, golf.breck.org.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Raising Cane studio.
Let's ride!
Off and running, welcome in. After further review here on a Tuesday, presented by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Musso in for Moscona. Luke Foster, Paul O'Neill along for the ride, and we are fired up to have all of you along for the ride as well. Jam-packed 3 hours of AFR to get to with you here today. Of course, LSU football. They're on the board once again when it comes to the class of 2027. Four-star safety out of Ruston, Jaden Anding commits to the Tigers about around 12:30 here earlier on Tuesday. Took a week longer than expected, right? That was supposed to be the deal on July 1st, last Wednesday, but took a little longer than expected. But ultimately, Jaden Anding in the boat. Commit number 16 now for the Fighting Tigers in the class of 2027. Shea Dixon, he'll be here with us and called about, let's say 13 minutes or so from now, and we'll get all Shay's thoughts on the Anding commitment. What's next for LSU? Is there in a dead period? But what are some other names potentially to keep an eye on? Yesterday, we talked about another addition to the LSU baseball transfer portal class in Angel Laya. Jason Ratcliffe's going to be with us again. He's from 64 Analytics. He's going to talk about kind of the back half of this LSU transfer portal class in baseball, what they've added. We talked with Jason during the College World Series after the first wave of commitments for the Tigers. Now they've added a few more, and they've ascended to the top of 64 Analytics portal class rankings. So it's a good time to have Jason on. We'll have him on here in about an hour, hour and 45 minutes or so in hour number 2. Big 12 Media Days got underway today. Plenty to talk about coming out of there. So just overall, a ton to get to here on today's AFR. Fired up to have you all along, and we're going to begin where we do every single day.
It's time to pop the top on another edition of AFR with Bud Light. Drink easy.
All right, so Shay's going to be here momentarily. That's when we'll really dive into Jaden Anding. I kind of really want to put that to the side for now because I did see this earlier this afternoon, and I think it is massively significant. In fact, we're going to talk to Shay about this as well in the next segment. But Ross Dellinger over at Yahoo Sports had this report that noted a very interesting development that came out of the NCAA Division I Board of Directors meeting in June. And what this report contains is that in the meeting in June, the NCAA D1 Board of Directors laid down framework for a legal tampering period in college football, really in college athletics. So basically what would happen is you would have a defined window immediately before the transfer portal opens where it would be permissible for schools, coaches to contact players and their agents to gauge interest on portal and entering the portal and work out deals and all of those things. Now, the kicker is in this write-up of the framework, it says, if adopted, would allow institutions to discuss opportunities with, quote, contactable student athletes and their authorized representatives during a defined window immediately before the transfer portal opens. So We'd obviously have to get exactly what the definition of contactable athlete is. Again, this is a report from noon today. So this is all still a very surface level conversation. The board has laid the foundation for this. They've laid out the framework for this concept of a legal tampering period. Now they are seeking member feedback per Dellinger's report. Also in this, just as an aside, the board also adjusted language on tampering to make it more of a presumption of guilt. They also reaffirmed that athletes are held accountable in tampering cases, and they rejected a memo from the Big Ten for a moratorium on tampering. Remember that when the Big Ten was just like, hey, here's an idea. How about you just let us all tamper in the meantime, and we'll figure some of this out? And the NCAA board said, no. But what we will do is lay groundwork for a legal tampering period. So let's talk about that, because that's actually the real story here. I'd love your feedback on this as well. If you're asking me, I think this would be a great thing for college athletics, and in particular college football. This is the next step. This feels like it was an inevitability because tampering was always going to exist. It exists at every level of sport when you're dealing with contracts, negotiations, free agents, any of that. It exists. That's why when you look at the NBA, they have a legal tampering period. That's why when you look at the NFL, they have a legal tampering period. Bring it above board as much as you can. It's not to say that teams won't still break the rules. It's not to say that you won't still have a situation like you had with Ole Miss and Pete Golding going after Luke Farrelly at Clemson. It's not, and Dabo gets in a press conference with all his receipts and reads text messages and transcripts for like 45 minutes in front of the media and the camera. It's not to say that stuff can't and won't still happen. Of course it will. I'm not naive here. Rules are made to be broken. That's the old saying, right? You give somebody an inch, they're going to want to take them out. You give a mouse a cookie, he's going to ask for a glass of milk. But this at least brings it above board a little bit more, where it's understood that, okay, you have these rules right here. This is your window. You can do this right now. This is what a contactable player is. These are the ones you can go after in this legal tampering window. It's the next logical step, in my opinion. And I hope the member feedback is good. I hope this gets passed, and I hope this is enacted and can make this a little bit better. You don't have to like it. I understand many of you probably aren't going to like it because you want things to go back to the way they were. And I understand that. Like, I can even sympathize with you in that. But we all have to also understand that it's not ever going back that way. Those old days are done. Dead, buried, gone. They're done. So what you do is you work with what you have. I think this is a really good step. Because with that, there's still going to be rules about the legal tampering period. Look at it was a couple years ago in the NFL with the Falcons and their pursuit of Kirk Cousins. They ended up under league investigation to see if they illegally tampered, spoke with Cousins, his agent, outside of the window. I think it resulted in a couple fines, whatever. But what I think the hope is that it brings us a little bit more above board for what's already happening. You can hopefully put a few more guardrails on it, and it's an opportunity to get everyone together and say, okay, look, here are the rules. And if you break these rules, these are the consequences. Because right now, what's everyone's complaint with this era of college football and college athletics? What's everyone's complaint? There are no rules. It's the wild, wild west. You hear, it's not just fans. You hear coaches, ADs. You hear all of those figures saying that. We want guidance. We want to know what the situation is with NIL, with the portal, with recruiting. We all we want to know is the rules. You give us the rules, we can go play by the rules. Okay, to me, this is a step of, okay, here are the rules. Let's go play by the rules. So I, for one, would be all for this. We've seen it work at higher levels of sport, like the NBA, like the NFL. Like, we've seen this work in professional leagues. Now, I'm not saying that there probably wouldn't be other issues with this, with the whole, athlete employee type thing. And I'm sure that stuff exists. But that's why you lay out this framework. That's why you go through this so you can get to a desired solution. It's very surface level. This is kind of just starting. Again, this comes from a June meeting of the NCAA D1 Board of Directors, and now it's time for member feedback. But if you're one of those out there that wants rules and guidelines and to curtail this as much as you possibly can, here you go. Here you go. This is a step in that direction. You may not like it. You don't have to like it. That's fine. But this is a step in that direction. So I hope it comes to pass. I really do. I think you could also look at this and say, does it solve some of your calendar issue? Somewhat. With an understanding that tampering happens anyway before the portal opens, with an understanding of that. But now you can actually, assuming this follows framework of the NFL or the NBA, you can actually now get deals done. You can have them in place, which again happens at times anyway, and I understand that. But it kind of, I don't think everyone does it. I mean, clearly, look at Dabo. He read receipts for 45 minutes. But if it brings it up above board, does that help kind of everybody? Now I'd be like, all right, let's go ahead and we'll do this now. And maybe that helps you out a little bit more when everything gets so condensed at the end of the year. Maybe. I don't know. That would have to be remain to be seen. But ultimately, if you're looking for guardrails, guidelines, rules, here they are. Go play by them. I think this is a good thing. So we'll see how this continues to progress. But there you go. The report from their June meeting. The NCAA Division I Board of Directors has laid out the framework for a legal tampering period ahead of the transfer portal. Now they look for member feedback. We'll keep you updated, obviously, as that story continues to progress. We'll also get Shay Dixon's thoughts on that as well, as it heavily impacts recruiting, and Shay's the best in the biz when it comes to recruiting and covering that particular area of college football. So Shay will be with us here in the next segment. We'll talk about that. We'll also get his reaction and everything we need to know about the latest commitment for LSU, Jaden Anding, into the boat here for the class of 2027. That's next here on AFR.
AFR.
We're brought to you by Goodwood.
Sunshine, your hometown, John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
Lane Kiffin and the boys, they stay hot on the recruiting trail. Once again, man, what a month or so stretch for LSU on the recruiting trail. Today brought the news, Jaden Anding, four-star safety out of Ruston. He is now officially in the boat with LSU in the class of 2027. Took about a week, maybe longer than expected there, but to get the deal across the finish line. Shay Dixon on 3, the Bengal Tiger. Of course, you can get him on Twitter X at Shay Dixon. Joins us every week here on AFR. Shay, we appreciate the time as always, my man. How are you?
I am driving and working through this rain. I liked that got the deal across the finish line. Freudian slip or on purpose there, Musso?
I'll let you be the judge. It was on purpose, but I mean, hey, look, it took a week extra. I mean, you and I kind of sat here and talked about this. I think it was Wednesday of last week, but they got it done. What can you tell us about Anding and now his addition into the class?
Yeah, so this was, like you said, it was an announcement a week ago on the Rivals YouTube page with Josh Newberg, and we had it all set up, and then the delay. But 1 week later, he's back on the YouTube page. They did it from the gym over at Ruston. As a technician, Moose, you'd appreciate this. Yeah. We worked through about an hour of spotting. No gym gets Wi-Fi, right?
That's true.
I was behind the scenes there watching them work it all out, and Mama Anding stepped in with a new iPad and got on LTE, and we got a smooth stream, and Jaden kept it pretty short and sweet. It was only LSU Ole Miss, and we talked about this, like you said a week ago. He'd only visited Ole Miss one time. I mean, I don't think this delay. In fact, I know this delay didn't involve Ole Miss. It was just making sure everything between the ending camp and LSU, you know, was on equal footing where both sides felt good about it. And it took 1 week. That's it for it to get done. And he was ready to make his announcement. And as I said, he went quickly. And you don't call it a prop, I guess, but he had his nephew with him, pulled the nephew out and said, unzip that onesie you're wearing and tell everybody where I'm going to school. And it was LSU. And it gave people flashbacks to the old 5 for 5 when
Oh man.
Leonard Fournette and Jamal Adams were the only two who committed out of the 5 potential expected Tigers down at the Trop back in the day. And Jamal Adams pulled out his niece and said, here she is in her LSU onesie outfit. So one safety did it. Golly, how long ago was that, Moose? We've been doing this too long, a long time ago. And now another safety, Jaden Anding, does it with the reveal. But with his brother Aiden on the room, we talked about him plenty because of his injury in the spring and that cornerback depth. He never thought about entering the portal or anything of that nature. And you've got Ahmad Hudson, his teammate, his classmate, committed to LSU, 5-star tight end out of Ruston. So they'll come to LSU at the same time together. And I did do a double check. LSU has offered, I guess these guys are rising seniors, but a 9th, a 10th, and an 11th grader at Ruston, at least one, all have LSU offers. So Destrahan is your current leader in the clubhouse for pipelining to LSU. Ruston might not be far behind them.
Yeah, Rustin making up a lot of ground there on Destrahan. Look, the announcement worked out pretty well for Jamal Adams in his career at LSU in the safety room, and he turned that into a top 5 pick in the draft. How does Anding fit into that room, Shay? Because it's a bit crowded there in the safety room, but they're certainly high on a lot of guys.
Yeah, and I'll couple that with this. A week ago, we thought, look, behind the scenes, I'll tell you, Davion Jones out of the East Coast. He's, if people remember, 5-star Josh Dobson, a cornerback target for LSU for a bit. His NIL price got extremely high, and he ended up staying home, going to South Carolina. They both transferred into William Amos in Charlotte this offseason. So they'll be teammates for the first time this fall. But they both ended up at South Carolina. And a lot of people thought, okay, that would have been LSU. You would have had 2 safety signees with him and Anding. Now you've only got one. And a lot of the other guys Jake Olson has offered are already committed. So is it panic, kind of button time? Do you push it? And I say no for the reason you just said. They've got a very nice safety room. Think about the past 2 years under 2 different head coaches. Jake Olson went out to the portal, and they started 2 kids from the portal last year in Halsey and Cooley. You get Cooley back, and now you've got Benefield, who's been the talk of the offseason, coming in from Boise State. And simultaneously, Blake Baker, that star position, he's moving off of a linebacker. It was Harold Perkins, and he's tapping into the safety room. The starter there now is Deshaun Spears, who's been a safety. So instead of Spears being a backup safety again, he's starting at star. So if you stick with that method, you're thinking very long into the future, but you would like to have that safety depth. And I think right now they do, because look, we just talked about Destrahan. Jace Thomas is someone they love. I mean, he's got NFL bloodlines and a year in the program now. They've got, Mansour Delane's younger brother just transferred in after 1 season at Ohio State. It seems like yesterday LSU had him in for an official visit and recruiting him, and he was a top 100 prospect. He's been playing some star, been playing some safety, and then they've got a number of other younger guys in there. They just signed a number of safeties. So I feel like a DB and even some at corner there, right? Like that's why we made a big deal about Aiden, Jaden's brother, being injured. They've got some good depth there at both spots. So if I'm Jake Olson, I'm not just taking a guy to take a guy. If you think he can come in and the NIL numbers right, knowing that he's not going to contribute year one, which is something Billy Glasscock, the GM, has talked about a good bit when they kind of structure how they work through this rev share NIL era, that, sure, maybe they could add one more, but if not, you either feel good about what you got, Moose, or you can go to the portal in January and see if there's a safety there that can step in and provide whatever you feel like you need at that point. But Anding is the top safety in Louisiana, and so to get him committed was certainly a big deal, and it keeps the Ruston pipeline flowing.
Talking with Shea Dixon, of course, on 3 the Bengal Tiger, at Shea Dixon on Twitter X. Time very much appreciated as always, Shady. So I texted you about this earlier, and I want to come back to a couple things with LSU, but while we're in a recruiting dead period, it feels like a pretty good time. So earlier today, Ross Dellinger had a report about the NCAA board of directors proposing or laying the framework, I should say, for a legal tampering period before the transfer portal. A thought on that? How it would really impact recruiting, and I mean, is it a good thing?
And I'll try to be brief. I'm so long-winded. I don't know anymore what's a good thing or not with the NCAA. But the NFL does this, right? Where they've got a window before free agency. Now, that said, they're going to revisit this in August, as Dellinger wrote about. You can go read the article. It's on 3 Yahoo, but Ross did a great job breaking it all down. A couple of things, as you noted, there would be a window before the portal opens where select athletes, and that's what they would discuss in August, would be able to have conversations with other schools to talk about a variety of things. Where do I fit in? A big thing is, that's become a big thing, is what is my NIL package look like? Like where do I stand monetarily in the view of coaches around the country? And many kids enter the portal and realize, Moose, oh wow, like my previous school viewed me in a lot higher regard than these other ones do, and now I am going backwards. So, and if that's by choice, that kind of stings. And this allows players to obviously get a feel for things beforehand. And let's be real right now. Tampering's always existed, but and we saw it with Dabo. Dabo's accusing Ole Miss. I mean, he calling Austin Thomas and these people, Josh Shaderi, out by name, saying that they were tampering to get a kid off of Clemson into Ole Miss when they weren't in this open contact period. This would allow you to have those discussions beforehand. But Moose, they're doing that right. Like if I called Moose, I want you on my team, but the window's not open yet. Wink, wink. I'm just going to call your agent, and your agent's going to tell you, and you're going to tell your agent. We're going to play a game of telephone here that's legal. So I think the NCAA is saying, okay, if that's happening, we know it's happening. Let's cut out the middleman in a way to where the kids have a little bit more power. Now, we'll probably talk about this a lot more in the future. I thought one of the things in there that really stood out to me that probably may get overlooked a little bit here is that there's this kind of feeling that enforcement would get, Dellinger said, would get tougher outside that window, meaning if there's a presumption like this Clemson Ole Miss thing, like they would come down hard on it if they find documented evidence. And it's putting a lot, from Dellinger's article, a lot of this responsibility is going to go into the athlete, not just the coaching staff. Before it was just your school. Now the athlete's going to have to play a part in this. And they said that they would invest more money into investigations for tampering. And even Big Ten requested to pause current tampering investigations, and they rejected that one. But I think moving forward, we'll see. Because look, rev share with the House settlement, athletes are making, some of them, millions of dollars right now in college, and you're trying to figure it all out in real time. And knowing tampering exists, hey, can we create a window where these kids can talk to coaches? Certain kids can talk to coaches at other schools, get a feel beforehand, and then move forward. And again, I said I wouldn't be long-winded, but I will say this. The schools that are going to benefit from this, Moose, are the ones that are really well organized. Not the rich ones. Yes, they do, but the organized ones. And LSU fits that. Billy Glasscock, the GM, and down the scouting department, we saw how they operated in the portal. It was very much, it was organized. They knew who they were after, and they got deals done. If you're able to do all that and have it set up before, I remember this January, the portal opened, Lane hyped it up. We went a week. They might have had a commit or two, and everyone was like, the season's over. We'll never win another football game. We're getting nobody from the portal. Then they went on a big wave. I get the sense now, if you're doing this, the portal could open, kid enters the portal, and later that day signs at the school or commits to a school because he's already had the conversations. Good to go. I know where I'm going. And as a result of that, Moose, other teams then are informed, hey, look, we don't need to chase Moose down anymore. He's going to LSU. Let's shift our focus. So I don't hate this idea, but I also want to see what the NCAA does with it.
Yeah, I don't hate it either, Shay. I mean, I think one of the things I said here in the last segment was it kind of felt like the next logical step. I mean, if we're being honest, because, I mean, as you said, and we all know, it happens. Like, it's Dabo read receipts for 45 minutes. Like, it happens.
Oh, just flipping pages out there.
He was reading transcripts for 45 minutes in front of organized media. Like, we all know that it happens, and everyone wants some type of guideline, some type of, give us the rules so we can play by them. This kind of feels like it's like, all right, well, here's an actual set of rules that you can go play by. I mean, I like it an awful lot. Well, obviously, like you said, it will be revisited in August, and I'm sure we'll talk about it more. Before you go, Shay, what's next for LSU here? I mean, I know July is July, dead period and whatnot, but they have plenty of irons in the fire. Anything we should be keeping an eye on here as the month churns along?
Yeah, I love it when you talked about a dead period earlier, right after we talked about a commitment. It's not dead at all. They are quite active out there. We are on 5-star watch. We have officially entered it. Sam Spiegelman wrote for Rivals yesterday that sources inside the Easton Royal, 5-star receiver from Brother Martin, inside his camp have indicated that he's entering final decision mode. He's committed to Texas, but we know that LSU is very heavily involved in trying to get him flipped. He made a visit to Florida as well, officially over the summer. And very often these kids want to do it before their senior years. So we could hear something from Easton Rural this month. And I think the same for Jalen Brewster, the 5-star number 1 overall player in the country, defensive lineman, made an official visit to LSU. That week Ed Orgeron got hired. They have been all over this one against Texas Tech, which is where he's committed. Does he wind up flipping or sticking with Texas Tech? I think there is a real chance, maybe better than 50%, that both those guys say, this is what I'm doing before we get into August and fall camp. And for them, the same. Like, they're going back to school in fall camp. So I think that both those guys preferably would like to have a final decision made. Whether I'm flipping to LSU or not, I'm going to guess that both those guys at some point this month say something publicly to where we know.
We will keep our eyes peeled.
That was a jinx. They're going to end up going to signing day.
Hey, well, look, that gives us content in December too. Then, Shay. I mean, look, we're not gonna be bitter about that at all. But we'll keep our eyes peeled on 5-star watch for sure. Shay Dixon on 3, the Bengal Tiger on Twitter X at Shay Dixon with us every week here on AFR. Shay, we appreciate the time as always, man. Be good, and we'll talk next week.
Thanks, Moose. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Again, that is Shay Dixon. The tampering thing's fascinating, y'all. I mean, that's super intriguing. I mean, you hear a guy like Shay who covers this thing daily. I mean, that's his job, recruiting, and that's very much going to impact recruiting. He's sitting there telling you what we already know. He's telling you, like, it's happening anyway. Like, but I don't think this is the worst thing to actually, put some guardrails, put some rules to it, give some responsibility to the student athlete in this. Be able to just move the process along a little bit quicker. I mean, that's from a guy who does it every day with recruiting. I mean, that's one of the guys you want to talk to about that. So I think it's a good thing. We've spent a good bit of the first 2 segments on it, but that's just kind of feels like the next logical step, doesn't it? They do it in the NBA, they do it in the NFL. You have free agency now. Stands to reason you have some sort of legal tampering period. We'll see how that how that continues to go. If you want to give your thoughts on that, go ahead. You put it in the YouTube chat. You can tweet me at Musa Math. You can text the show 225-490-1045. We can get to plenty of your reaction to that throughout the show. This, I guess you'd call it a feature from Seth Wickersham today on Sean Payton, but one of the nuggets of a proposal that Sean Payton gave the Broncos was hidden in there, and it might blow your mind. We're going to get to that to close out hour number 1, but Around the SEC is next here on AFR.
AFR.
Back here after further review on a Tuesday, presented by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Musso in for Moscona. We'll go around the SEC here momentarily. Got to move a little quick. Went a little long there with Shea, but great conversation about recruiting and a potential legal tampering period in the NCAA. You may have seen this news earlier here on Tuesday. Amir Khan, Aura, he was the viral student manager from Will Wade's time in McNeese. Well, he's going to reunite with Will Wade here at LSU. That is official here now. Khan spoke to ESPN on the record Tuesday, said, quote, yeah, I'll be a student manager for one more year. Also talked about, grateful for the time in McNeese, incredibly thankful to reunite with what he called his dream coaching staff at his dream school. So, man, look, I think this is pretty cool. I mean, are you ever going to be able to, recapture the lightning in the bottle that was his, viral sensation in the 2025 NCAA tournament? No. I mean, that led, according to this ESPN piece, to more than 20 NIL deals for Amir Khan that exceeded six figures, all because of the tunnel walkout with the boombox and dancing with the team and all of that. Like, are you going to be able to recapture that lightning in the bottle? No. But this is a guy who certainly the players seem to love on the teams that he helps out and is a student manager on. And I'm all for any type of locker room camaraderie and anything that brings the team closer. So I like it. And, it's a cool story. I mean, they were doing feature stories on Amir Khan. ESPN was, during that 2025 NCAA tournament. So he'll be a part of LSU now with, I guess you say on Will Wade's staff, student manager, which, hell yeah, man, bring it on. Why not? So Amir Khan, the latest addition for Will Wade here as he builds up the LSU basketball program, getting set for tip-off here, obviously this fall in 2026. We're going to go around the SEC here momentarily. First, Rouse's.
Summer is here, which means beach vacations, barbecues, backyard pool days, whatever you got going on. Make sure you celebrate with our friends at Rouse's, no matter what you're looking for. Meat or fish to throw on the grill. Maybe you want some cold drinks for the adults or the kids. Chips and dips and all the servings and sides. Rouse's is your spot with 76 locations from Lake Charles to Orange Beach and points in between. You're never far from a Rouse's location. And one of the things I love most is Rouse's always does their best to make sure they source local products. You want local Louisiana products and ingredients, you'll get them at Rouse's. Whether you're making groceries, a quick stop to pick up something for dinner, or a day at the pool, make sure you make Rouse's part of your summer every day. Find the Rouse's nearest you. You can shop the weekly ads online at rouses.com, rouses.com. Rouse's, this feels like home.
All right, let's knock it out. Let's go around the SEC.
Around the SEC, bringing you the biggest news from the nation's best conference. The Texas Longhorns.
Jim Schlossnagle. The Longhorns, they've added their sixth player in the transfer portal. That is UCLA outfielder Peyton Brennan. They were in the market for an outfielder because they missed on Bino Waters and Angel Laya. What a shame. So they add Brennan. He was a member of the 2026 Bruins, 58 games, hit .290, 9 homers in those 58 games. He is a draft risk, final year of eligibility, but Longhorns feel pretty good about getting him to campus as he is not necessarily a top prospect in this weekend's draft.
The Vanderbilt Commodores.
Vanderbilt and Tim Corbin, they're back in the portal again. They add lefty Shane Brenham. Brenham, freshman, coming off his first season at Michigan, 6'1", originally from Canada. Finished the 2026 season with a 6-4 record and a 3.88 ERA across 18 appearances and 10 starts. He struck out 61 batters in 65 innings pitched. He'll now hurl it for the Commodores.
The Oklahoma Sooners.
Oklahoma has picked up their 27th commitment for the class of 2027. They did so here on Tuesday with the addition of three-star athlete Jaden Fields. He's out of Hutto, Texas. Chose the Sooners over A&M, Stanford, SMU, and TCU. Many Power 4 schools saw him as a wide receiver. He's obviously just an athlete. But the Sooners are going to put him at safety when he arrives on campus. 6'2", 200 pounds. Rivals ranks him the 20th athlete in the class of 2027.
The Alabama Crimson Tide.
Quick basketball note here for Nate Oates and the Tide. Anderson Diaz, he's a point guard commit. He will reclassify and join the team in 2026-2027. He was the number 26 overall player in the 27 class, number 9 point guard, a 4-star prospect. Last played for Cold Hearts and Overtime Elite. It's out of Atlanta. Averaged 19 and 7. There you have it. That is around the SEC. This is After Further Review here on a Tuesday. Musso in for Moscona. We are presented by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Sean Payton gave a wild proposal to the Denver Broncos. We'll tell you about that next to close out hour number 1 of AFR. Stick around.
After Further Review.
Let's rev.
So Seth Wickersham over at ESPN, he has a very lengthy feature up right now, dropped this morning, on Sean Payton. It's titled Sean Payton's Second Chance Inside the Denver Broncos Super Bowl Quest. Basically what it was is Seth Wickersham spent 15 days with the Denver Broncos during their playoff run a season ago, which that's just absolutely crazy to me that Sean Payton allowed that type of access in the middle of a playoff run, but good on you, Sean. If you want to read that full feature, obviously you can do that over at ESPN.com. The interesting thing that kind of came out of that is this anecdote that's in there, and Adam Schefter, to his credit, tweeted about it and that kind of relayed it, from the story, that Sean Payton, when Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots split in 2024, Sean Payton, according to this feature from Seth Wickersham, considered presenting Broncos owner Greg Penner with a proposal that he hire Belichick as the head coach until he reached 15 wins. That would have given Belichick enough career wins to break Don Shula's record of 347 wins. Payton would temporarily step down to assistant head coach and run the offense, then move back to full-time head coach after Belichick became the all-time leader in career wins. Ultimately, the proposal got too complicated and it never really happened. What? What? Maybe it shouldn't be. Just given Sean Payton's place in the coaching fraternity and both Belichick and Payton's, relationship with Bill Parcells. But that's shocking to me that Sean Payton would even consider doing that. Again, maybe it shouldn't be. I can tell you this though. I'm glad it didn't happen because I'm all for watching history and records, but my goodness, would that have been forced? If there's one thing I can't stand with records is an obvious, don't take a dive, right? Basically. And if you're going to, don't make it obvious. We all want guys chasing records, athletes, just anybody. You don't have to be an athlete. If you're chasing some sort of record in your life, I think all of us really want to see that achieved. But I mean, that would have really soured that record for me. It would have felt disingenuous. Where it's all right, no one else in the NFL wants to touch Bill Belichick right now, but the Broncos are going to do it. And Sean Payton's cool with it, and he's going to step down just so Belichick can get 15 wins. He's still going to run the offense and all that. Belichick's just kind of going to be the way that sounds is just a name and a face at head coach, in a sense. We all understand this is still Sean Payton's team. We're just doing this so Bill Belichick can get 15 wins and surpass Don Shula. Doesn't that feel cheap? Is that just me? that feels very cheap to me. So I'm glad it didn't happen. But I'm also just really surprised that thought even entered Sean Payton's mind and that he wanted to take that to the Broncos ownership. I mean, nice gesture, obviously. And I mean, obviously Sean Payton and Belichick have a very good relationship too. Again, as we said, Parcells and all that. But what? Anyway, didn't come to pass. And again, I'm glad. It would have cheapened the record. You can read that piece up at ESPN.com. Hour 2 is next.